Hi, welcome to Books with Lexi. This is another episode of Reading Taste Match. If you're not familiar, this is a series I do on my channel where I ask another booktuber to do a collab video with me. We both give each other 3 books to read. 2 we liked and 1 we did not. And then we also do a buddy read to see how our tastes line up. So in theory, for a perfect taste match lineup, we would both like 2 books, dislike 1, and then have similar opinions on the buddy read. So I'm very excited because in this video I am doing this with one of my favorite people on booktube, Cailey from Cailey's Books. She also has a version of this reading the 3 books I gave her that will be linked in the description, so make sure you check that out. I'm not telling you the books I read now because I'm going to let Cailey tell you what she has picked for me, but I'm really excited to be finally doing this with Cailey because we for sure tend to line up more often than not. Cailey and I have very similar reading tastes. She reads a lot of other stuff that I do not, but generally if one of us really likes a book, the other one will also really like it, and then if we don't, we also will not. I also do know that we tried to make this a little more difficult. This series is hard because part of me wants to not know what the person thought of it, but like at this point that's not possible. But we also tried to pick books that weren't specifically all like for sure you are going to like this. We wanted to kind of, I guess, test the limits of how our tastes line up. So I know that the books I picked for Cailey, I'm only really confident about 1 with our taste lining up, and I'm excited but very nervous for this because like this is possibly proof of how much our tastes line up, but like it could go terribly because of us trying to pick maybe more out of our comfort zone things. That's enough rambling. Let's see what books I will be reading. Okay, so it is midnight and I was just about to go to bed, but Cailey just sent me her picks, so I'm going to be watching that. This is not the angle I'm going to leave you at so you can see the video, but Bowser's cute over there, so I wanted to show you that.
Hello, Lexi. I am so excited to be doing this collab video with you. Thank you so much for asking me. I have 3 books that I am very intrigued and very nervous to hear your thoughts about. So the first book that I'm giving you is probably no surprise to you, House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. I can't even pretend like, oh, did I like this? Did I not? You know I love this book. This book's freaking awesome. I know you loved Year of the Witching, so I'm hoping that you love this one too and that our taste tests aligns. But House of Hunger is a very gothic, atmospheric fantasy horror book that follows our main character becoming a blood maid because she is in a pretty desperate situation and needs money. So she is a blood maid to a noble household, which means she is giving her blood to rich people for them to drink. It's about people that are vampire adjacent. It is about her suddenly being involved in this world of crazy rich people, and she has to evolve very quickly to their odd societal customs. And I really hope you love it. The next 2 books, neither of which I own physically, I hope are a little bit tricky for you to know which one I liked and which one I disliked. They are both thrillers. The first of which is When the Stars Go Dark by Paula McLean. This is a thriller about a missing persons detective who has recently had a personal tragedy, so she is grieving, she is depressed, and yet there are some missing people in the town where she is grieving at, and the missing people there seem very eerily similar to a girl that went missing when she was a child in her hometown. The next thriller is Here and Gone by Halen Beck, and this is a thriller about a mother who is driving across the country, but she gets stopped on a traffic stop and the police officer ends up taking her into custody and puts her children somewhere. And the next day when she's about to get out of custody, she asks him, okay, where are my kids? Where can I go pick them up? And he replies saying, what kids? So it's about her fighting against this corrupt police department, trying to get her children back. One of these books I loved, hint, one of these books I liked, and one of these books I hated. So I'm very curious to see what your opinions about all of these books are, and I can't wait to see this video.
I've never heard of that one book. I already have House of Hunger from the library in preparation for this video because I knew I knew Cailey was going to give it to me. I'm excited for this one, but a little scared because I think it's a little slower pace, which is not always my favorite, but I'm excited. And it's funny because the book we decided we were going to buddy read for this is called House of Cotton. I didn't even think about that because anyway, so I always do a buddy read in this series, and that for this is going to be House of Cotton, which I'm really excited for. When the Stars Go Dark, I know that was the book of the month book. I have no idea what Cailey thinks of it, and I've never heard of that other book. I don't even remember what the title is. So this is going to be interesting. Fingers crossed that my curse for this video of hating a book that someone else loves is broken. I'm scared but very excited. I am a third of the way into House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. I have read The Year of the Witching by the same author, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. That one is historical, I almost said sci-fi. No, historical fantasy horror. That's the word. Am I okay? No. So this is the same blend of genres. We are following Marion, who is very poor. She does not have really anything to her name. She's working at this job that she hates, and she sees an ad in the newspaper for a blood maid. It says, wanted, blood maid of exceptional taste, must have a keen proclivity for life's finer pleasures. Girls of week will not need apply. So Marion is desperate to leave, and she sees this ad, and it is in the far north, which she lives in the south. I think the far north is full of rich people, maybe vampires. It says, wealthy nobles live in luxury and drink the blood of those in their service. And Marion applies. In a matter of days, she finds herself the newest blood maid at the notorious House of Hunger. There, Marion is swept into a world of debauchery, and at the center of it all is Countess Lisbeth. The Countess is loved and feared in equal measure and takes a special interest in Marion. So we find out very early on that Lisbeth is sick and needs more people to be blood maids for her. Where I am a third in, she literally just signed to be a blood maid officially. So at the very beginning, we were watching her and her friend interacting, and clearly she wasn't really loving the life she's in, so she decides she's going to take this. But everybody judges blood maids. They feel like it's not an acceptable path to take in life, but she wants to do it anyway because she does not like her life. So she tells her friend is not happy about it. She tells her brother's not happy about it, but she decides to do it anyway. And there's not really an open position, but apparently her blood is like so incredible that she's taken in anyway. So pretty much she gets to eat sweet food, and she gets like a monthly stipend and like a pension when she retires, and she has to give up her blood in exchange for that. So far, only the synopsis has happened. She literally just signed. We have had glimpses of this countess, but like she's not really a character yet. And it is pretty slow, but not in a way that is boring to me. Like, it is supposed to feel this way, and we are just getting to know the world that Marion lives in and her life, like her feelings about things. So while not much has happened, I'm not mad about it at all. I am looking forward to seeing what direction this goes in. Like, this is fantasy horror. And there are some glimpses of this like weird possible situation in the past that she's going to be looking into. I don't know if you can hear. He's snoring over there. My audiobook for this returns in like 2.5 hours, so I will be finishing this morning. So I'm gonna get back to reading, and once I'm a third in, I will check in again. I have made it 2/3 into House of Hunger. I am on page 184, and while I am enjoying this is not going to be 5 stars for me, just because it is not my kind of horror or book in general, but I think it's done very well, and I can see why people would love it. For me, the plot is just not moving fast enough, so it's pretty slow, but it's not slow in a way that bothers me. Like, there's been no point where I'm like, wow, can we just like move on? And also, I'm not specifically bored, and I think that is a testament to how well done this book is. But for me, I need horror to be weirder or a little faster pace, or like I need some sort of like mystery in it. In this, we're just watching this experience. No, we're just watching this situation, that's the word, unfold. And that's not enough for me to be obsessed with the book. It is very atmospheric. I think it is done super well. I think it's going to end up being 4 stars, which is how I felt about the Year of the Witching as well. There's just not enough to the story for me. I think that I generally am a plot focused reader, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the plot has to be super fast paced, but I need a lot of like moving parts within it, even if they're not like a main focus on the story. And this is slow, and we are watching Marion in this situation, getting to learn things. And I'm trying to think of a book that I've given 5 stars that makes me think of this, and I just can't think of anything. There are things like Sundial, which I would maybe compare with that aspect, not anything else really. But for me, there were other things influencing stuff, and there was more to think about with that, and this is just the story, and I have no issues with that being what this is. And it's like obviously not a dig at this book in any way, it's just not my preferred horror book. The writing is good, the story is keeping me interested, but it's also one of those that like I could put it down and live the rest of my life without finishing it, and it wouldn't like eat at me like a lot of my 5-star books, but I'm for sure enjoying it and want to continue. So feeling very much like 4 stars. There's a slight mystery in here, and I want that to be a little more of the plot. Really, the plot has not moved forward that much. There was like one thing that happened, but it wasn't tense enough for me. And then there was another situation, and it just kind of, it went by, and I had no real feelings about it. So that's the situation with this. The audiobook returns in 50 minutes, and I have an hour and 10 minutes left of listening, so it's gonna return before I finish. So I'm gonna go listen to as much as possible, and then I'll have to read a couple pages at the end with my eyeballs for once, which like, but I'll survive. I am looking forward to finishing this, so I will talk to you when I'm done. It's the same day. I took my glasses off because it is nighttime now. Well, the sun is like almost down, and the glare in my glasses was like really bothering me for some reason. Can you even see this? There we go. I have finished House of Hunger. I actually finished this afternoon, and then Adam got home and we were watching Alice in Borderland, which has been my recent obsession. I forced everyone to watch it. Cailey is watching it. Like, this show came out a while ago. Not like super long time. Anyway, moving on to this book. I am going to give it 4 stars. I feel like it is done really well. I held my attention the whole time, even though it is a very slow, like, atmospheric book. I really liked the direction it went in. The thing for me is it was very predictable. Like, there was no moment that shocked me. There was no added layer of like something that made me really think about things. And I think I either need to be shocked, or I need to be completely obsessed with the plot, or I need to be obsessed with a character, or I have to have like an added psychological layer that's like a big part. And I didn't get any of those things from this book. I think for what it is done very well, but I don't know if a book like this really had a chance of being 5 stars for me. And I know Cailey was stressed about giving me this book. This ended up getting the same rating that I gave The Year of the Witching. And I'm not really surprised about that. I was not expecting to give this 5 stars. And that is like a whole conversation. but like I have gone into books expecting to not give them 5 stars and have given them 5 stars. So my expectations going in does not determine my final rating at all. It's just like the type of book. I knew what it was, and I knew based on other things that I probably would not be obsessed with it like Cailey is. I know this is one of her like all-time favorite horror books, and it is not that for me. I want weirder stuff, faster paced stuff, more psychological, but this was incredibly well done, and I'm really happy with the 4-star. The last video in the series that I did with Riley, this video is already going way better than that one did. I actually wasn't planning on starting with this book, but Libby controls my life, so but that means this video is off to a good start with 4 stars for House of Hunger. I know Cailey gave this 5 stars, so not a perfect match, but for the purpose of this video, we both liked it. So that is a win, because generally this series goes terribly for me. The next book I'm going to be reading is When the Stars Go Dark by Paula McLean. I picked this one next because it is the longest one, and that's it. I'm currently 15% into here, but I'll talk to you a little bit later. I just wanted to let you know this was the next book. We actually started our buddy read for House of Cotton already, and then we both got like sucked into needing to read other things. So we will be getting back to this week. I'm not sure when I'm going to talk to you in this video about this book, because I don't want to mix it up with the other one, and I think I'm going to finish When the Stars Go Dark before this one. So I think it'll be When the Stars Go Dark, then House of Cotton, then I will end with, I don't remember what it's called, Here and Gone or something like that. So that's my plan. I will say, so far I'm bored. I am now 36% into When the Stars Go Dark by Paula McLean. We are following Anna Hart. She's a seasoned missing persons detective in San Francisco. Tragedy strikes her personal life. She flees to grieve. She moves to Mendocino. She lived there as a child with her foster parents. And then she gets there and she learns that a local teenage girl has gone missing. And it feels very reminiscent of the most crucial time in her childhood when an unsolved murder of a young girl touched the community. So far this is fine. I don't think there are any real issues with it, but I just like don't really love these kinds of stories. It's feeling like it could be 2 or 3 stars at this point, honestly. I don't have any strong feelings about it, so that's why I'm not sure if it's going to be 2 or 3. And I'm like kind of bored, but also not completely. It just doesn't feel like a lot of my 2-star books recently, but I really don't think this is going to get above 3 stars for me. I don't have any issues with the character. I don't love her though, and I don't think that the story itself is super interesting. A lot of times I don't find detective stories very gripping for me because I feel like a lot of them are pretty much the same, and I feel like it can get pretty repetitive just following somebody around doing the same things. So it's one that I'm not hating my time while reading. Like, it's fine, but this is just not the book for me specifically. The fact that Kristen Hanna blurbed it makes me nervous because I don't really like Kristen Hanna books. Not that that determines really anything. There's an interesting like picture here, and it looks like a statue, and I wonder what that has to do with anything, because that feels very random. Anyway, no issues, but like also I don't, oh, there's a map. I think in my TBR video I also was like, oh, there's a map. So maybe I should look at that or something. The audiobook is like extremely slow for some reason. Like I feel like there's a lot of pauses and I don't love it. This also has like a weird part of a statue. So there's another one. Anyway, it's fine. I will talk to you once I'm 2/3 in. Today's my dad's birthday and I'm driving an hour or so to meet my family for dinner. So I think I'm going to try to time it that I'm 2/3 in by the time I get there, and I should get there a little early. The next update will be a car update, and then on the way home, I will be able to get pretty close to the end of this. So I'll talk to you again later tonight with my final thoughts on this. And I'm really excited to go eat Chinese food tonight. So I'm gonna read, then go eat, then read, and I will talk to you next from my car. I am 2/3 of the way into When the Stars Go Dark, or whatever it's called, and I'm not loving it. It is just kind of boring and repetitive and kind of the same stuff I said at the beginning. I am having some issues with the characters. The main character, like, I think sometimes they're getting flashbacks or like her memories, and I just like can't distinguish them. And also there's like multiple missing girls, and I can't remember like any of them except for the main one either. So I'm just struggling a lot. I'm trying to keep track of things, and not because I think you're supposed to, and it's not because I'm listening to the audiobook, because I usually don't struggle with things like that. So I don't know, I just like don't love that. So there's some confusion and I'm bored. So I feel like this is leaning more towards the two-star category. I just got in the car to go to my dad's birthday dinner, so I'm going to listen to the audiobook, and once I get there I will probably be finished and I will give you my final thoughts. I have finished When the Stars Go Dark. I finished it last night. Once again, did not take my bookmark out. I'm currently working on the last couple bookmarks for Skip the Readathon, so I figured I would talk to you while I work on these because they need to get shipped out today. But I ended up reading a lot more during the day yesterday. So I did get to 2/3 before I left for the birthday dinner for my dad. So I talked to you in the car before I left, and then as soon as I got there, my sister was there and we were waiting for everybody else, but she came and sat in my car, and I was not interested in filming when she was in the car. My final thoughts on When the Stars Go Dark. I am going to give it 2 stars. Honestly, I forget a lot of stuff that happened already. I think my main issue is that this just is not a book for me. I don't think it was bad at all. Like there are some 2 stars that I'm like, this was a choice to publish. And I don't think that it was that. I don't think that it was incredible for what it was either. I had issues with the characters specifically. I didn't like really care about any of the characters, and I found it really hard to distinguish some of them. Like, I don't know if their names were too similar or what, but like I was paying attention the whole time I was reading it. It's not like I was like really doing anything else, so it should not have been an issue. And I mean, I guess there is a possibility it's my fault because like maybe there were just too many characters for me, and we all know I'm bad at character names, but like I don't know, I feel like it was hard to distinguish them. Like even if I didn't know their name, I still like couldn't even remember like when we talked about them before, sometimes like based on their interaction. And then there was like this secret backstory that was kept from us the whole time, and I thought it was fine, but like I don't know, I didn't love it. So yeah, this is gonna get 2 stars because I'm just generally bored by this kind of story. And then with the characters, like no one stuck out to me, nobody like nothing. So those are my thoughts on When the Stars Go Dark. Cailey accidentally ruined this for me, so I do know her feelings on it, which was very funny because like I said I was reading it and she reacted a certain way, and I was like, oh, so that's how you feel. And she's like, no. I have glitter all over me. So that was very funny. So I do know her thoughts on this, which means I do know her thoughts on the last one I'm gonna read, but like that does not impact my feelings on books because like I knew Riley liked 2 of the books the last time I did this, and I still gave them all 2 stars. So it's fine. Totally fine. Just finished putting glitter on the last bookmark. I have it all over my hands. I'm gonna spray these, and I am now going to read House of Cotton. I'm gonna get ready for the day and I will read some of that, and then I will talk to you later. Okay, Cailey and I are at the same spot. I am not failing my buddy read, and we are about a third into House of Cotton. Currently, we just got to chapter 10, which is on page 105, and I'm not sure how to feel about this book, how to talk about this book. But I know Cailey and I are on the same page last we talked. So this is following 19-year-old Magnolia. She is broke and pretty much an orphan at this point. Her grandmother just passed away and she is kind of stuck. She has no money. The landlord of the house that she lived in with her grandmother is a complete creep, and she's working at her gas station job, and this like weird stranger walks in and offers her a job modeling at his family's funeral home. So she accepts and it goes from there. So the thing is, the modeling stuff in this is so weird and creepy and disturbing and like super interesting. And I'm kind of obsessed with that part, but that's not the main focus of the story. I think this has a lot of really good discussions in it with poverty and race and stuff like that, but it's just not giving me what I was expecting from the synopsis. There's a lot of the side story going on in here. There's a lot of her dealing with grief and trauma, and there's a lot of sexual content in here. There's a lot of like really dark topics, but they're not like completely linked to what's happening in the synopsis. So I just had different expectations of this going in. I did expect it to be slower, but I don't know. I was also expecting it to be more on what I was told it would be based on the synopsis. Like, this premise is so good, and whenever we are following the funeral home stuff happening, like, I'm obsessed with it. But generally, that's not the main plot, which kind of sucks. There's a lot of important discussions in here, but I just wish it was done in a way that was more connected to the funeral home and not that feeling like a separate plot from her and her like real life stuff. I don't know if that makes any sense. The writing in here is pretty like flowery, and sometimes I find it easy to like zone out because of that, but I'm not hating it. This right now is feeling like 3 stars for me, but if the funeral stuff doesn't become more of the plot, like it could be 2 to 2.5, just because like the horror that I was promised from the synopsis is not the main focus. And like, yes, the stuff she's going through is horrific, but it's just not what I expected. So those are my thoughts. I'm pretty sure Cailey has a lot of similar thoughts on this, and I will talk to you again once we are 2/3 in. You know what's so annoying? I set this up because Bowser was laying on that pillow right there, and I was told that it's rude if he's behind me and I don't show him. So I moved things around, set things up so that he would be in the shot, and he got up and he went downstairs. So that's his fault. You cannot blame that on me. I am 70% into House of Cotton. I had a drive yesterday and I ended up listening to it, a lot of it on that. So I am now on chapter 17, and I don't know how I feel about this book. It's interesting because I feel like, let me fix this. I think it was crooked. I don't know. I feel like with a lot of the like the way this is set up and the comments made and stuff, I feel like this should be set in the like, this sounds weird, the 1900s. I don't think it feels like a book that takes place in the 2000s onward, just because of like certain things that are said and like mindsets and the way people are acting, and not in like, wow, I can't believe this stuff still happens. It's like just the way things are phrased, and I feel like the way things are described and stuff. I don't know. I don't know why I'm getting that vibe. And then because I'm getting those vibes, it's really jarring when they're like video calling and she's like, "Oh yeah, text whatever." And I'm like, "Oh." I don't know if anyone else has had that issue with this book, but I'm just getting those vibes. I'm not loving this still. There is more horror stuff that has come in. There was an added element that I was not expecting. It's not in the synopsis, and I have not seen anyone talk about it. But for me, I'm just, I don't know, this, I can't decide how I feel about it. I think it's leaning more towards 2 stars at this point. There are aspects of the creepy funeral modeling stuff, and that is becoming a little more of the focus, but there's still a huge focus on this other stuff that I don't like, and it's not said in the synopsis, so I can't really talk about it. This is not my favorite read, which is kind of sad because this cover is absolutely incredible, and even the spine has like little additions to it, like the flowers and stuff. So like I really want to own a copy of this, but it's not going to be one that I'm going to end up buying. I know that for sure, which is kind of a bummer. I also, for some reason, not the main character, but like one of the main characters, Cotton, who owns this funeral home, I thought he was like an old guy for some reason. And then it turns out he's not, because something, you're like, I was concerned for a minute. Then I was like, oh, I guess maybe he's not in his 70s or 80s. So, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I am going to finish it today. I am a little bit ahead of Cailey on our buddy read, so sorry, but I'm trying to get ahead on things because I'm going on vacation soon and I want to still have content going out during that week. So I'm gonna finish this. Hopefully things get a little better, but at this point I'm not hopeful, which is sad. I have finished House of Cotton and I'm going to give this 2 stars. I thought that certain aspects of this were so interesting, and I just like wish this book would have been done completely different. The synopsis is not the main focus of this book for most of it, and even when it is, it still doesn't feel like the main storyline, if that makes any sense. Like later on in the book, like pretty late, it becomes the main focus, but it just like, I don't know, it has a weird feeling where that's not the most important thing. This book could have easily gotten 5 stars from me if the main focus was the creepy funeral home modeling stuff, and then it went into like the psychological aspects that went along with the direction it went in. But that was just not the case. I feel like the main focus was stuff that I didn't care about. And on top of that, it was so repetitive. Like, something would happen, then the response would be exactly the same, and that was like the stuff I didn't care about. And then something else would happen, response exactly the same. There were just some things in here that also didn't make sense to me, like the way things were responded to. It like just, I don't know, it was not logical at all. And like things don't need to be logical in books for me to like them, but like very basic things still need to be logical. Like, I don't know, I can't really say much without giving things away because the only thing in the synopsis is the modeling stuff. But because that's not the main part of the book, I don't know what is considered a spoiler. So that is House of Cotton. I'm really bummed about it, but it is what it is. The ending was interesting, but it was like to the point where I was zoning out because I didn't really care about a majority of the book. You will have to watch Cailey's video to get her full thoughts, but we do agree with a lot of stuff about this book. So I would for sure say that our reading taste matches with this. So now I'm going to start Here and Gone. This is the last book of the 3 that Cailey gave me to read. I do plan on reading all of it today. I am nervous because I've never heard of this book. So fingers crossed it goes well. I am a third into Here and Gone, and first of all, I would like to know, Cailey, where you found this book. Like, when did you read this? Because I got the audiobook on Libby, but it's nowhere else. It was only available at one of my libraries. The ebook is only available to read in the Libby app, and it doesn't exist in the Kindle store. And also, like, my library doesn't have a copy. I'm just so confused. Like, I've never heard of this. I've never heard anyone talk about it. It's very hard to find because I wanted to get the sample on my Kindle since my library didn't have it to read on my Kindle for like B-roll and stuff. And that's just not a thing. So how did you read this book? Like, where did it come from? Anyway, I am a third in, and I was not expecting this book to be this dark. I'm very much enjoying it so far. So we are following a mother and her two kids, and they're in the car, and now that I think about it, not that much has happened in the third that I've listened to, but it's kept my attention the entire time. We are starting off, and this family is in the car, and the mother is like kind of acting a little strange. She gets to a gas station and she sees a cop there and is like nervous about it. And then she goes into the gas station and she is like glad that the cashier is barely paying attention to her and isn't going to recognize her in case that comes up. And I'm like, so she gets back in the car, she gets pulled over by this cop because apparently her car is overloaded, and the regulation between the tire and the car and the ground is wrong. So he's like, I can't let you drive like this, so I will follow you to where you're going and like take some of your stuff. So then he just like opens her trunk and then is like, what's this? And there's something in there that he then is like, well, I'm going to have to take you in. So he arrests her, and another cop comes and picks up her kids. And she is taken to jail, but like, you don't know where they're going. And she's like, where are my kids? And they're like, don't worry about it. So it's really weird. And then like, you find out something that happened, and I'm like, like, I wasn't expecting that at all. For all I know, that could be in the synopsis, but I'm not going to tell you because I thought it was a fun twist, even if it is in the synopsis. So like, the thing behind the thing that's happening is so messed up, and like, you don't know the reasoning for that yet, but like, I'm not surprised about the way it is set up because I'm trying to be so vague, and I don't know how I'm going to continue vlogging this book because like, I'm assuming the mom like gets out and is trying to find her kids, but it's super interesting. It's super dark. This audiobook is like 10 hours. So I have listened to the first 3 hours and 20 minutes. Is that how math works? To get to a third. And like, really, that's all that has happened. But it's so interesting. Like, this is feeling like 4 to 5 stars right now. Which is very fun because I had never heard of this book. I literally would have never read it. Like, yeah, one of my libraries has it on Libby, but I would have never picked it up. So I'm really excited about this. I'm going to get back to reading. I'm invested. I am 70% into Here and Gone, and I am liking it slightly less than I was before. Last time I talked to you, I was feeling like this could be 5 stars, and now it has moved down to the 4-star territory because I'm just losing interest a little bit. So in the very first part, it was intriguing because you didn't know the backstory behind things. And then there's this super interesting element that is revealed. And I was like, yes, I'm obsessed with this. And then that element that was revealed has barely been part of the story. And I think that I really, really, really want more from that. There was a different edition which I enjoy, but not as much as like getting the other thing that happened. We are getting a lot more of our main character's backstory, and like, it is very sad. It's like very dark, but like, there's just that one thing that was introduced and I desperately want more of it, and I think that is keeping me from enjoying this as much as I could be. This is also very interesting because this is not typically a story that I would pick up and assume that I like. I don't generally read books where there's like police as big aspects of the book, and I also don't generally read things that are really that domestic, and like, a lot of the backstory is domestic stuff, which makes sense, and then now it is stuff with like her and her kids and trying to get them and like figure out that situation. But for some reason, this is just really working for me. So yeah, I'm not loving it quite as much, but I'm still really enjoying it. I don't know if I'm going to finish tonight because in an hour, Cailey and I actually are doing a watch party together. I pretty much bullied Cailey into starting to watch Alice in Borderland. Hi, hello. If I have not told you to read the manga, Alice in Borderland, or watch the show, here's your formal invitation to do so. It is so good. I started off with the manga and was immediately obsessed. Then watched the TV show. I made Adam watch it with me. We watched the whole thing, and now I'm catching up on the manga, which is not fully released. So there's my pitch for that. And I feel like, personally, that's really saying something because I don't watch TV or ever talk about it. So you should watch that. It's on Netflix. And then please tell me if you like it. If you don't talk to me about it. Anyway, we're going to do our watch party tonight. I have an hour left of my speed listening time. So I don't have enough time to finish it tonight. Before that, and we're going to be watching 2 episodes and probably just like talking and stuff. And I don't know if I'm going to read anymore once we start. That's this. Enjoying it, but not quite as obsessed as I was, but we'll see how it ends. Bowser is out to get me in this video. He was laying on this couch, so I sat on the floor. I don't ever sit here, but like I kind of like the setup. He was supposed to be behind me because it would have been adorable, and of course he moved. So I have finished Here and Gone. I finished it a couple days ago and honestly forgot to update you. I am going to go with 4 stars for my rating on this. I did enjoy it. I think it was really fast paced. I think it was interesting, but there were certain things that I just wanted more from it in this story. I think I talked about it a little bit before, but this is not typically something that I would pick up or enjoy. So the fact that I enjoyed this so much was really a shock to me. I don't have anything new to say really. I did like the ending. It was like the beginning was pretty slow paced but like super intriguing to me, and then the pace did pick up when there was like not as much stuff to figure out. So I think that was done well. For me to give this 5 stars, there just would have needed to be more of a certain thing or a little bit more psychological stuff, I think. So I'm really happy with this because I would have not read this book ever. So I've read all 4 books now. Starting from the beginning, I read House of Hunger and I gave this 4 stars, and Cailey gave it 5 stars. This is one of her all-time favorite books. I feel like our levels of enjoyment for this are pretty different, but for the sake of this, like 4 and 5 stars are both similar enough that like I would say that that counts as a win. Then When the Stars Go Dark, I gave it 2 stars, and I looked and Cailey also gave it 2 stars. This is the one that she like accidentally told me she didn't like, but I looked and it was 2 stars. So we both gave that the same rating. Then House of Cotton, I gave 2 stars. I am not going to spoil her full thoughts, but that I would say we line up on as well. And then Here and Gone, I gave 4 stars, and Cailey also gave it 4 stars. So I would say this is a huge success. I feel like we lined up on everything. I'm really, really scared that the same thing did not happen in Cailey's video, but I hope Cailey feels good about this because usually she reads my recommendations and I don't read hers, because I'm scared that it's not gonna go well for me. So this is like further proof for me that I need to get on reading the books that she reads and tells me I'm going to like, because clearly we do have super similar reading tastes, even with things that I didn't expect to like. Like House of Hunger is not my kind of book, and Here and Gone is really not my kind of book either. So it's just interesting that we line up enough that books that are out of my comfort zone I ended up liking since Cailey liked them. I'm so happy this went well. I've done now 5 videos in this series, and this is the first one where I have not absolutely hated a book that somebody gave to me that they liked. So thank you, Cailey, for breaking this curse. Even if your video didn't go as well, which I hope it did, but I'm counting this as a success because my curse is broken. Just a reminder that Cailey has a version of this video as well. She read 2 books I liked, 1 I didn't, and also House of Cotton for our buddy read. If you are not subscribed to Cailey already, please make sure you do so. She's one of my favorite people on booktube. We are always hanging out, always doing sprints together, always talking to each other, and if you are not subscribed, you are definitely missing out. Also, we have a lot of similar reading tastes, so if you line up with a lot of the same horror and thrillers that I do, you should for sure check out her channel. Thank you, Cailey, for agreeing to do this with me and taking the time to read 4 books because of me. I'm glad we finally did this and that my version went well. If you have not seen the previous versions of this video, I do have a playlist linked with all of my videos and also my booktube friends videos that they have done with me as well. That will be linked in the description. Also in the description are links to find me in other places on the internet, including my bookstagram, my storygraph, and my Patreon. There will be more versions of this coming in the future, but I am going to take a little bit of a break because I have a lot of other fun things planned that I'm looking forward to working on. If you've read any of these books, I would love to know your thoughts on them and if you are surprised if I liked or did not like these books. Also let me know which booktuber you would like to see me do this with in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!